afternoon waiting to come on, and are you ready?
Yeah.
So big build-up you gave me there, Des. I hope I can justify it. So, look at you. You look absolutely gorgeous. Des was sharing that I'm a trainer with Anthony Robbins, and it's a great privilege. There are only a few of us in the world that he believes can train his principles. And I have had so many distinctions from him, and one of my favourite ones is about intimate relationships. And he always says, intimate relationships can be the source of our greatest joy, but sadly, they can be the source of our greatest pain too. And I know from hearing of the other speakers and hearing you put your hand up when they asked you questions, that you're probably like me, that there's been times in your life when you felt a lot of pain in relationships. Is that true? Yeah. When you felt either really lonely, I was trying to think of a piece of music and for coming on. So I chose Stand By Your Man because I love that. And it's very rare that I actually speak without my man. He's an amazing human being, Tony Vee. And I was going to use that Bridget Jones one, which is all alone, you know.
All
by myself, don't want to live all by. And I thought, actually, you know, like we don't want to be reminded, do we? So I've got a short time, about 35 minutes, and what I want to do is share with you what I really feel is going to be relevant to you for taking your intimate relationship life, your love life, from wherever it is now to wherever you want it to be. Okay? So I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm going to first of all learn how to use the equipment. Oh, I got to use the equipment. Oh, fantastic. And actually, just let me ask you a question. Who here is in an intimate relationship? Okay, fantastic. Who here is single? Have a look round, see if there's anybody you like the look of. And who here's not sure? There's always one. There is always one, doesn't matter whether Tony and I are speaking to like 10 people or 1,000 people, there is always one. Because isn't it true that it isn't just about being either you're single or in a relationship, it's about, there's so many different stages, right from being long-term single through to maybe you're still involved with your ex, maybe you then start meeting somebody, then you're dating them, then you're getting into maybe living together or whatever that is, and there's marriage, and there's so many dissections to it. So why have I put success and failure? Well, I don't know whether you recognize the picture here, but it's actually the Hippodrome nightclub. It's actually a casino now, which is Sport My Story. And I was actually managing director of European Leisure and HR director, and they owned the Hippodrome and many, many other nightclubs and bars and restaurants. And so I was having a fantastic time. I'm working in the nightclubs industry, I'm having a ball. I had an office just underneath where it says Hippodrome there. And I was having a lot of success. So I had, I had a Mercedes sports car, which I'd always wanted, had this great job, had a nice house, but I was sleeping alone at night. And that was really tough for me, really, really tough. My career and my masculine energy had cost me dear. Now, my father, who's passed right now, he was my biggest influence. And I remember him sitting me down when I was about 6 years old and saying, so Nicky, it's a big, hard world out there. You have to be smart, you have to be sharp, and you have to be ahead of the game. And I was really like him. So of course, as time went on, I just thought that all that I had to offer was to be smart and sharp and ahead of the game. So it got me an awful lot of success, but it cost me 2 marriages. I remember Tony was saying to me earlier, don't forget to tell them the story about your first husband. Now, Tony and I are known, as Des said, as intimate relationship experts or coaches, and we often work with couples who are struggling. One of the things we do, for those of you who are in this business, is we actually go and live with people. And it's just started off by accident, and we go and live with them. And we actually, our first client was, we had a paragraph on our website that said, look, if you can't make it to one of our intimate relationship seminars with a group, we'll come to you, kind of thing. And we had this one-line email. He said, this guy said, how much and when can you come? And Tony just wrote back and went, Wednesday, 10,000. And he never replied. And we thought, well, maybe that's a lot of money, or maybe he's, not serious. And the next thing we knew, we got 2 tickets to Florida. And we went on the Wednesday, as we'd said, and we got there. And it's actually quite funny, was that I'm a bit nervous of dogs. And this guy had said, it's okay, you can stay with us. Because we said, look, we can stay with you in your house if you've got room, but if not, we'll go to a local hotel. And he said, yes, you can stay with us. He said, it's okay, we've got 2 houses on the property. I thought, I've arrived. I am now going to go and coach somebody who's got 2 houses on their property, And as we kind of drove down the road, I suddenly said to Tony, I said, I wonder if they've got any dogs, because we're going to stay in the house, And as we drove in, you could hear these dogs, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I was like freaking out, And then we went in, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and we're thinking this is going to be some, great luxurious situation. And they put a bed in the middle of a converted garage, and we lay there, didn't we, love, at 2 o'clock in the morning going, note to self, have some options next time of going to a local hotel. But it was just amazing the way that we began. And so and we also, as I'm going to speak about more today, is and that's the reason why I'm speaking on my own rather than with Tony, which is what I normally do. I feel a bit like lost my other bit, is that I work a lot with single women. And we have a program, as you know, we're called Let Him Find You. And so Tony said, I will try and remember what he told me to say. Tell them about your first husband. And I got myself into that situation where I so believed, and I know people have spoken about this today already, I so believed that it was just my job to be, to take charge and to be equal to, and to just do whatever was necessary at the time. And I remember one day my car broke down, and I phoned my husband and said, the car's broken down. He said, have you put petrol in? I said, yes, got plenty of petrol. I said, but, it's dead, And he said, well, go home, in the garage, there's a spare battery. And he said, get a taxi, and then get it back to the car, change the batteries, and you'll be fine. And I kind of went, but I'm a girl. And he went, well, I can do it, why can't you? And just like the last gorgeous girl that was speaking was saying, I suddenly looked at myself and I went, look, what have I been doing that's giving me the experience called him asking me to change the battery, right? And I started to realize that I needed to recognize how I was showing up. And so I did what most people do, which is that I did it again. and went into my second marriage actually thinking that I had learned something and that I was actually going to, have a different experience, and recognized very quickly that I was having the same experience. And one of the things that is really scary That's one of our clients, actually, girls. Is that not just the most outstanding wedding dress you've ever seen? Yeah. Tony actually ran the wedding. It was absolutely fantastic. And one of the scary things is this stat, is this scary enough? This is like 50% of weddings, of marriages end in divorce in this country. The more scary fact is that when people remarry, so second marriages, they fail at 75%. And third marriages fail at 85%. Now, I'm not going to ask the question, do you have a sense of why that might be? Yeah. It's pretty bloody obvious, is it not? That what we're doing so often, and we're all guilty of this so often in our lives, is we go, it's not me, it's him. It's not me, it's her. Or if you're in a same-sex relationship, him and her, it doesn't make any difference. What we do is we say, like, I'll just go and find somebody else. But we are the common denominator. And therefore, as has been said already today, we have to take a look at ourselves. So I came out of my second marriage. I knew, I was with him 5 years. I knew within a few days that it was the wrong relationship for me. But how many of us don't listen to that inner voice? And we also don't look at what's actually happening. Because I remember being in my office, when I was still working in the leisure industry, I remember being in my office and the phone went and it was him. And I'd only been together with him about 10 days and he said, I need your help. I'm all over the place. I don't know what to do. And I can't live where I'm living now. I need somewhere else and I haven't got the money to get it. And I need you to move in with me. And I said, don't worry, honey, it's okay. I'll sort it out. And I put the phone down and I picked it back up again and said to my secretary, I'm going out for the afternoon. And there was a mirror on the wall and I couldn't look at myself. 5 years I stayed in that relationship. Now the reason why you can't go, well, it's him, he was being a wuss, is because you think that my energy attracted his energy. Of course it did. So I started to get the message about it. I started to get the message that the only way I was ever going to have success was that I was going to need to look at me. And at the same time, Tony Robbins, who I've done a lot of events with, started to teach. Because when I first started going to Tony, he was all about health, he was all about success and, getting more money. And then suddenly he started to recognize, when in fact he uses a saying, he says, the happiness you get from money and like houses and cars and boats and planes and everything is only responsible for like 1% of the kind of fulfillment you could have in your life. 1%. So 99% in his view, I'm not suggesting that's everybody's view, but in his view, 99% of our fulfillment in life comes from being in a healthy, loving, giving relationship. So I started hearing this from all angles and thought, okay, I hear it. I need to do this for me. And I just put a slide in here because I bought this from a much longer presentation. Because at the time when this was happening for me, it's sort of like dating sites weren't really around. So we're going back a long time. I'm very old. And dating sites weren't really around, but so many of our clients, the single men and women that we work with, so many of them are on dating sites. And I've got nothing against dating sites. In fact, I love to sit with one of my clients and decide. I was with one of the young ladies the other day, and she had got 4 photographs on her bio profile, whatever you call it. And I looked at the one, I went, oh yeah, you look sensational. She was at a wedding, you could see she felt really good about herself, and her face was really like relaxed and everything. The other 3 you only had to kind of look at her face and her eyes to realize that she was not in a good place. And I said to her, like, tell me about this guy you want to be with. So, of course, what do you think she said? I want him to be fun. I want him to be spontaneous. I want him to, like, give me surprises. I want to have lovely commitment and intimacy and all those sort of things. And she kept saying this word fun. And I said, look, this might sound a bit harsh, but do you look fun in those pictures? She went, no. So I said, have you got any? And Tony was there, and Tony came over and he went, like, what do you know you've got to be like to attract someone who's got all those ingredients? She said, maybe I've just got to be silly. She said, I have been so serious all my life. So he said, look, have you got any pictures of you being silly? She went, no, I don't think so. 2 hours later, through my email, I've got like all these silly pictures of her because she's gone like, oh my God, I didn't realize that sometimes when I'm not thinking about it, I'm kind of silly. So now she's got those on her site. But I wanted to just quickly share this with you because it's something that Tony and I have shared with a lot of people about dating sites. And I had the pleasure of hearing a lot of the speakers this afternoon, and so many of them have said to you about being authentic, yes? About being the real you. About not being scared to ask for what you want. So when we assist men and women, in fact, we had anybody here know Dan Bradbury? He's a very famous speaker. Okay, and we've known him since he was like this high. And he came to us once, and he was single. And he said, I'm really like fed up. He said, I've got this profile on this dating site, and he said, it's like, I'm like 19. I'm like getting women of like 60, like coming towards me. And he said, I'm like, I want to have fun. I'm like in the personal development field. And I've got like, people who are like school teachers who are not in the personal development field. Anyway, he gave us a list of all the reasons why he didn't like the people that he was getting. And so Tony said to him, he was actually with us on like a vision and purpose event that we were doing at the time. And Tony said, look, you've written this great vision of what you want to do for the rest of your life, which, by the way, over the years that we've been around, relationship coaching, we've noticed that the most attractive thing to a woman is a man who has got a plan, a vision, he's got purpose for the rest of his life. He knows where he's going. That's the number one thing. If you trust me at all, you believe it. So if you're a man in the audience and you've not got a plan, a vision, or a purpose that's clear and concise and that she can go, okay, I'll join that, right? And of course, you're going to ask me then, so what do you think, Nicky, is the most attractive thing to a man about a woman? It's that she is happy. She's happy in herself. She doesn't need him to make her happy. She's happy in herself. So we talk about vision and purpose, and we talk about happy. So Dan was on this vision and purpose event, and he'd written this fabulous vision for the rest of his life. And Tony said to him, look, you're not getting the kind of people you want on dating site. He said, so if I were you, I'd just put your vision on. Take everything else off and just put your vision on. And so he did. He had to change his email address because he had so many women coming towards him. And just like I was saying about this young lady, because she looked happy and kind of silly, kind of frivolous in these photographs, imagine the difference in the kind of person that was attracted to us. But I wanted to just share with you something that we've done with our research. And we actually once went to speak to a whole room of dating site owners. And we were there sharing what we believed would be helpful information for their clients. And there was only one site out of a whole room, not much smaller than this room. There was only one company that came to us afterwards and said, we'd like to have your intimate relationship philosophy for our for our readers, for our members. He said, and all the others, when they were being honest with us, said, actually, we don't really want to teach them how to have a great relationship, because what does that mean?
No business.
No business. They don't stay on there because they don't stay single. Now, I've got nothing against them. I'm just being honest and saying that's what we found. And when we did our research, we found that there were 6 women for every man. Good news, guys. And 5% at best find a relationship online. And I think that, that's maybe a good number. I'm not saying that's bad or good. What I'm saying is that what we've been talking about today, all day, I know, is to be our authentic self, to shine, to be who you really are. And that actually, what I know is that most people actually want to meet somebody in a natural environment and connect, yeah? And so I think that that's, 5% is quite a low number. But I know many people who have read. 2 out of 5 women experience a man with a fake identity. Now, look, this is like not good. And I just wanted to share that with you, because what we teach in our programs is not to go on dating sites, but to actually be the person, live it, actually live the person that you are at your very best, so that actually you connect then with someone else living at their very best. And again, I'm not saying that can't happen online. It's just that our experiences, it's more authentic to meet in real life. Yeah. 1 in 5 women have been asked for money, which is again not good. And 80% of profiles, men and women, lie about their age, height or weight. So it's not a particularly authentic thing. So all I'd say to you is, I'm not going, so don't do it. I'm just saying, if you are completely honest about who you are, what you love, what you want, our experience is that you will attract different people. I had one client once who said to me, but I can't tell them that I'm 61 and, I've got a parrot. Right? And that, actually, I don't really want to move from my house because I like blah, 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 blah. I said, why not? Because, imagine that what you're doing, you're giving a basis for the relationship, the foundations of the relationships are not true. So, this is a double-edged spread in the Daily Express. It says at 46, Nicky Vee wanted a soulmate. And this was at the very beginning of Tony and I got together. We got together in 2003. And what was fantastic, I'm going to go back to how I got myself in the right place to get together. But what was fantastic is I was asked by, in Dublin, a group such as this to go and speak. And I said, what Tony Robbins tool would you like me to speak about? And they said, no, we'd like you and Tony to come and talk about your relationship. And so the very first time we spoke about relationships together, we literally got, we didn't smoke, but you know what I mean, by the back of a fag packet, and literally wrote 3 things, spoke for 3 hours on it, and then people came back to our suite afterwards, and we finished at midnight, just because people just wanted to learn about how do you have a healthy relationship where, you're both happy, you're not needy of each other, you're both happy, and actually all you do then is share that love, share that happiness, share that emotion, the healthy emotion together. And so I set myself a year to find a husband, and I literally just decided to look at myself and to recognize what had happened in the past, but also to just to make sure that I was living my authentic self. And I did lots of different things. And my Let Him Find You program is literally a walk down the road with me of what I did in that year. And it was just an incredible experience for me. I did things like cleared every piece of clutter that I had in my life, including paperwork, including 75% of my clothes, shoes and handbags as well, and coats. You know, I started to eat differently. I started to exercise more. I started to recognize primarily that I actually needed to work on a lot of parts of my life, not so that I would meet somebody, but so that I would be at my absolute best. And those of you who've done a lot of personal development will have seen the Wheel of Life. My husband calls it the happy test, is how happy are you? And I realized that when I scored myself on these different things, that actually, as Tony calls it, I was like half happy. You know, I might have been like, you know, doing well, like with finances and stuff, but, you know, my health was not where it needed to be. I was working, and I really wanted to be working for myself, so I had the freedom to travel more, all those sorts of things. I realised I was half happy. So I set out literally to get myself into a great space. And what was absolutely amazing was the day that what happened was I travelled all over the world with Tony Robbins as well, which was amazing, and I was an executive coach in London. And I went to see my best friend who lived in Shanghai, and then I got a plane to go to Kuala Lumpur, and I was working on one of the Tony Robbins events in Kuala Lumpur. And when I got to the airport, there was a text message, "I'm here to meet you." And I thought, I don't know anybody else knows I'm here. What's that, do you see? So I went in and put my lipstick on anyway, as you do. And I came out, and there was Tony, who I'd met at like a Yes Group. Anybody know the Yes Group in London? Yeah. I used to run the crew on the Yes Group, and I'd met him there, and I'd met him at another Robbins event, but literally just for 5 minutes. And he was standing there waiting for me. I said, but how did you know that I was coming in right now? He said, well, I knew you were coming from China, and I knew you were coming today, so I've been here 4.5 hours waiting for you, with a taxi waiting outside. And I went like, oh, okay. And then we got a taxi, and we went back to the hotel, and we were going out for a walk, and he was telling me about his happy test. And so I said, well, you know, let me have a look at how I'm doing. And so I answered all the questions, and I scored 88 out of 100 on that test. And I said, what about you? And he went, well, you know what, I haven't done it for ages. I've done it with 150 people all over the world, Germans, Americans, Brits. He said, I haven't done it for me for ages and ages. So I said, well, can I ask you the questions? So he said, sure. So we added up his score, and guess what his score was? 88. And we kind of went, okay, it's a bit spooky. And the universe just kept throwing us together, until obviously he kissed me. And that was all over then. And what was interesting is a lot of women will say to me, how do you know? How did you know? I said, well, I didn't. I kept saying to my friend, well, there's this guy who was kind of like we keep being thrown together and I actually said, he's kind of so lovely. I said, I feel like we're going to be friends for the rest of our lives. She said, wow, what about? I said, no, he's not my type. Because in my mind, I'd still got a little bit of, he's going to look like this, or he's going to look like, you know how we do this, girls, right? And then, you know, like, he kissed me, and I was home. That was it. And of course, what was great was that I learned so much about life and about how to have a great life, but I'd also learned a lot about masculine and feminine behavior. And how, as Des was saying, how, you know, we're so different. You know, what did we ever think that we were the same? I mean, what was all that about? Right? Where we're completely different human beings, and we've got different needs. And I had an answer to Des's question, actually, was what's wife material? And my answer is a woman who understands what a man's natural essence needs are. Because a man needs to be, thank you, a man needs to be, round of applause, a man doesn't just want, he thrives on a woman who acknowledges him, who appreciates him for what he does, and where she adores him and puts him on a great pedestal. Thank you very much. have a little thing about 3A's and 3C's. Anyway, oh, and you're probably going to want to know then what's a woman's needs. The men are going, tell me, I want to know how I can meet feminine needs at a very high level. I can see you want that. And we call it the 3C's. It's that you give her certainty. And of course, the only way you can give her certainty is when you have certainty in yourself. Okay? That you compliment her. Try telling a woman that you like her dress and her hair and her shoes and that she's pretty. She goes, oh. Try telling a man like Des, you look very nice today. I like the moustache and the shirt. He's going, It's just like so. It's like we're different, you know. So a woman likes you to give her certainty. She needs certainty because her natural state is to feel vulnerable. And the reason why I feel I have a right to teach this is because I was more masculine than any woman I've ever met. Was running my masculine pattern so much. So for me to really understand at the core of my essence what to feel vulnerable, not scared, vulnerable feels like has been the greatest gift of all my learning. And the other thing that she wants, guys, is to be cherished, to be taken care of. And girls, we have to be take care of a bull. Just like we have to be kissable. Because if we get too like, I'm okay, I can look after myself. He's going to go, bye, let me go and find somebody else to look after. Right. But anyway, I'm running out of time, so I could go on like, well, Tony and I teach that for weeks on it. So that was us at our wedding. And that's 12 years ago now. We're a little bit fatter. And 12 years older, but we're doing great. We're very in sync, my husband and I. So if we're drinking alcohol, we drink alcohol together. If we're vegan together. If we're running, we run together. If we're couch potatoing and we run, we just do it together. It's easier. So, so this was our business then for the last 12 years. This is our book, Multiple Orgasms with Ease and Elegance. Yay! Now, guys, I've got a disappointment for you. This is for women to have. You do okay with your own. This is for women to have a full body feminine orgasm. And look, I haven't time to talk about it now. In detail, but to know that us girls have been experiencing quite a male experiencing in the bedroom. You know, for the last 20, 30 years, we have been experiencing something very similar. We call it sexual athletics. We've been experiencing something similar. And all I would say to you is, in order to have a feminine experience in the bedroom, there has to be a lot more feminine energy around. I won't go any further. Sorry, I can't. I haven't got time for questions. I am sorry. Anyway, that was our retreat in Austria, which we absolutely loved. So, and we have tons of stories of Well, this was a lovely girl who came to us, and she actually came with a boyfriend. His wife had committed suicide very sadly, and he had 2 little girls, and they were really, really struggling in their relationship. And she was basically going, this ain't going to work. And, having her really understand how to be a mom to her new children was amazing. And that was their wedding. And could you see Tony doing he's always doing weddings. He's like a wedding obsessed person. This is a lady called Netta, a German client of ours that came to us as a single girl, learned this stuff about how to live your best life. And by the way, the girls, the Let Him Find You program, this is not about you being some Barbie doll, itsy bitsy. I mean, I was on BBC Radio when the Tiger Woods thing hit the scene, and they wanted somebody to come on and explain why that happens. And I had some journalists say to me, so basically what you're saying, Nicky Vee, is that that women are supposed to be passive and subservient. And we had a 5-minute slot, and I thought, what's the quickest way of answering that question? So I just went, do I sound passive and subservient? I mean, come on. She said, okay, I get it. So Netta she was a head honcho in the Intercontinental hotels, actually, and she just learned, again, how to be more authentically feminine and how to have a great life and not to be so focused and driven and all those other things. And therefore, we were with them in Paris when he were in the Buddha Bar restaurant, when he got down on one knee and proposed, which we loved. And you didn't do that wedding? No, you emceed the wedding, didn't you, darling? And then this is a gorgeous woman called JJ, who 6 weeks after doing our program, guy that she already knew. It's often someone you already know. Women go, oh no, I don't know anybody, and the guys are going, no, I don't know. It's often that. But when you change, when you find, well, not change, but when you find your authentic self, they come along. So, I've got to tell you about this funny story. This is the Let Him Find You. And I was talking to this lovely lady on the phone, and she said, look, I'm busy, I'm just starting my own business. Look, I've got 2 children, I've got this, I've got that, the usual story. And she said, I said, but look, honey, let me ask you a question. What is it that really, what's absolutely critical for you right now? She went, oh, I just wanted somebody to hold me. I just want to be loved. I want to find someone that I can love completely, and I want to be loved. And I said, look, I do this program. I promise you it won't take you long. It's not like you haven't got to go traveling, it won't take long. In your own home, in your own time. And I said, it's £500. She went, that's not bad, £500 to get a man. And I thought, oh, that's so funny, the way she said it, that I always remember it. So I just want to take a little moment now just to share with the girls and the single ladies in the room what the program that I offer. And just to let you know that the thing that I have with most of my clients is quite an intimate relationship. And so, because I understand that so often you don't want to learn a strategy, you want someone who's going to answer your questions, who's going to be there with you, somebody who's walked your path. So you can actually get started on my Let Him Find You program for £200. And there are 3 ways that I can guarantee he finds you. 3 ways. And before I show you the 3 ways, this is not a money-back guarantee. Because as you can imagine, in this kind of business, anything can happen. It's a personal guarantee from me that actually says that if you're not completely happy, I will work with you until he comes. Okay? Because I love weddings. And before you go, I don't want to get married, I'm happy to just find the perfect partner. I love blessings to get you together. So I have some options to share with you. And option number 1 is a guarantee that you'll know why you're still single. I guarantee you'll know what men want. We've touched on that a tiny bit today. And I'll guarantee that you'll understand who's your perfect match. When I was in corporate life, I learned a lot about personality styles. Yeah? Anybody come across psychometrics, that kind of thing? Tony and I use it all the time in our relationship work because, oh boy, when we have those clients that aren't doing well, we do a thing called Save Your Marriage in a Week, and we go and live with people for a week. And just like that couple I was telling you about in America, they had 4 children, had a 7-week-old baby. She was alcoholic, he's a workaholic, there's a lot going on. Okay. And one of the big things was they were not a perfect match. They were absolutely not a good match. So I'm going to teach you very quickly on option 1 what is your kind of perfect partner. And that's £200. Okay? Option 2 is you get all the above, and you get exactly what to do now in order that he finds you. How to attract him, when to date, when not to date, all those hundreds of questions that the girls always have, and that's 200 times 2 payments. And then the option 3 is you have a lot of personal time with me, face to face, so that I can answer your individual questions, look at your own individual personality style, talk through what's happened for you in the past, all those sorts of things, so that you then have certainty when he comes along that he's the one, and that you know how and at what stage the intimacy is right for you. And that's 200 times 3. Now, if you are ready and you want to start now, I mean, I set myself a year. Tony found me in September. I remember being in July and going, what do I need to do? I just got more education, more time to devote to really finding out why I was still single. So if you're ready to rock and you want to do a pay in full thing, that's £500. So I've got a bonus for you. A ticket to my Let Him Find You meetup event on July the 18th, 2015, free ticket. And a special surprise gift, which all the girls go, oh, I can't believe you did that. I'm not going to tell you what it is. So, the entire programme, as I say, £500, or there's the 3 options. So, before I leave the stage, because I have now run out of time, what can I share with you? The one thing that fills my heart with joy is when I look back and I remember so much pain in my life. I remember the pain in the relationships where his needs were not being met and my needs were not being met. I remember then going to a more healthy relationship where we kind of met our own needs, and that was only okay. I remember all the time of being alone, just going, what's wrong with me? Why have I not got this? And so just wanted to share with you the bottom of that, or the bottom of what I believe is going to make the difference for you, is that if you truly commit to yourself, to take a look at yourself, understand what you've been doing that's not been working, not beat yourself up at all about that, but just have a realization that you were just doing the best you could with the resources you had at the time. A lot of that is learnt behaviour from our parents or somebody that brought us up. And just recognising that once we recognise what we've been doing that's not been working, then we're in a powerful situation to take our own life to the next level, and then to meet someone else who's also got their life at a very high level. So I want to thank you very much for your attention. I wish you all the love in the world, and thank you, Des. Thank you, Des, very much for inviting me.